So they finally did it. They rebooted the Ponzi. The same Ponzi we've been telling you about for a decade. The dollar Ponzi. The debt Ponzi. The number must go up or everyone defaults. Ponzi. They just gave it a new skin, new name. Same scheme, they're calling it stablecoin regulation. I'm here to tell you what it actually is. It is the Trojan horse for the dollar's last decade as the global reserve currency. It's a CBDC with a haircut and a fake mustache, and the people running it just told the entire planet out loud, on the record, that the only way to save the system is to trap you inside of it. Friday, May 1st, stablecoin agreement reached on the Clarity Act. May 14th, the Senate Banking Committee will hold an initial vote on the Crypto Clarity Act bill, the world's most expensive magic trick. Oh, we got a lot to get into. Sunday! Okay, what I'm about to walk you through, they don't want you to understand it. By the end of this video, you're gonna understand it better than 99% of Congress, which is admittedly a low bar. Half of them think cold storage is what you do with leftover meatloaf.
Ma, the meatloaf!
Now here's the graph they don't want you to see. May 5th, 30-year Treasury yield breaches 5%. First time since last July. The 20-year also through 5. The 10-year breaking out. Translation for the normies, nobody wants our paper. Foreigners are dumping. Pension funds are nervous. The yuan just hit a 3-year high against the dollar. Ray Dalio, not a Bitcoiner, not one of us, but he is in the club, and Ray Dalio looked at his spreadsheets last week and said, and I quote, 2026 to 2028 is a particularly risky period. That's how billionaires say you're cooked. And on May 6th, we crossed the line. The U.S. government now owes more than the entire U.S. economy produces in a year. The whole country working, every farmer, every nurse, every Uber driver in Phoenix. The entire annual output already promised to the bondholders. So the question for the Treasury is real simple. Where do we find the next sucker? Because every Ponzi has the same problem. Bernie Madoff had this problem. Scam bankster fraud had this problem. The U.S. Treasury has this problem. Number must go up or the music stops. Enter the Clarity Act. Quick history lesson, take 90 seconds. I promise it'll save your life. 1944, Bretton Woods. First, the Allies win World War II. All the gold ends up in Fort Knox, allegedly. Every other country pegs their currency to the dollar, and the dollar pegs to gold. Sweet deal. We promised to redeem dollars for gold. They believe us. Why wouldn't they? We just liberated Paris. 1971. Nixon. 27 years of money printing later, the rest of the world finally catches on. They show up at the gold window. Pardon me, sir. My gold, please. And Nixon, on live television in front of God and country, slams the gold window shut temporarily. It's been temporary for 55 years. The dollar should have died right there. It didn't. Why? Because Henry Kissinger flew to Riyadh and made the Saudis an offer they couldn't refuse. Bretton Woods, too. The petrodollar. Price oil in dollars, recycle the dollars into treasuries, and we'll sell you weapons and defend you on your trade routes. It worked for 50 years. Now it's 2026. The petrodollar is dying. The Saudis are flirting with the yuan. Russia, China, the BRICS, they're all pricing oil and everything except dollars. The fuel for that Ponzi is running out. So what does the empire do? It does what it always does. It finds a new sucker. And this time, the sucker is everyone with a smartphone. Welcome to Bretton Woods 3.0. Here's the trick, and it's gorgeous. You gotta give them credit. Every government on Earth wants a CBDC. Look at the map. Pilots, R&D launches, every single country. Why? Because the CBDC is the most powerful tool of financial control ever invented. Negative interest rates that only kick in if you save too long. Penalties on gas purchases above your average. Rebates if you buy approved green energy. Programmable poverty. That is the dream of every central planner since Lenin. But there's one tiny problem. The plebs hate it. Citizens despise CBDCs. Besant himself said in a congressional hearing, absolutely not to a U.S. CBDC. Politically dead.
On CBDCs, I see no reason for the U.S. to have a central bank digital currency.
So how do you build a CBDC without calling it a CBDC. You let private companies do it and you regulate them through Congress and the Treasury. That is exactly what the Clarity Act does. Stablecoin issuers, Circle, Tether, the next 10 you've never heard of. They're not central banks, they're private cryptocurrency companies. Oh yeah, cute, adorable. Except every dollar of every stablecoin is backed by US Treasuries, and every rule about how they pay rewards, how long you have to hold, what you can do with the coin, that's now written by the Treasury Department. That's not a stablecoin. That is a CBDC with a private sector mascot. And the genius of it. Anyone, anywhere on Earth, Lagos, Buenos Aires, Istanbul, can hold dollars on their phone frictionlessly with rewards. Their purchasing power flows back into U.S. Treasuries. You just rebuilt the petrodollar. Congratulations, except the oil is human attention. Now the headlines, this bill bans interest on stablecoins. Every legacy reporter typed that out, slapped it on a CMS publish button and went to lunch. Did Circle's stock drop? No, it went up 20%. Why? Because the ban is cosmetic. It's a fig leaf for the banking lobby. Banks didn't want stablecoin issuers paying real savings interest because banks pay 0.01% and would like to keep it that way. So the Congress wrote in no interest on passive deposits. But they slipped in rewards tied to activity, trading, staking, holding period. Read that again. It functions identically to interest. They just renamed it. This isn't compromise. This is KFAB. Pro wrestling. The banks win the headline, the Treasury wins the war, and you, the pro holding USDC on your phantom wallet, gets a reward that looks suspiciously like the yield on a 2-year Treasury minus the spread. For our friends in the C-suite. Now, if you don't believe me, fine. Bitcoiner on Bitcoiner crime. I'm biased. So let me bring in the largest corporate Bitcoin holder on planet Earth. Michael Saylor sat down with Peter McCormick last week and he laid out the entire heist in like 3 sentences. Listen.
The currency supply measured in dollars is continuing to expand, probably expanding 7% a year. It's been expanding about 7% a year for 100 years. And that currency printing goes to finance wars, foreign wars, trade wars, social programs, government deficits, any kind of political program.
7% every year for 100 years. That's not 2% target. That is a continuous, silent, multi-generational tax on anyone too poor to own assets. And nobody passed a bill for it. Nobody voted on it. There's no signature. It's just the air that we breathe.
It's true that people that don't own assets are suffering from that monetary debasement without realizing it for the most part.
Without realizing it. That's the whole game right there. The brilliance of fiat is the tax is invisible. If the IRS sent you a letter saying, "Dear citizen, we're taking 7% of your savings this year to pay for a war," you didn't vote for it, and a banker's yacht, you'd march on DC with a pitchfork. But because they do it through the printer, you don't even see it. You just notice you can't afford a house.
Human capital is getting demonetized, and that's really the lesson, which is if you think the glass beads are money and someone comes along with gold, then the glass beads get demonetized and you'll be poor if you hold on to them. It used to be that people that were big and strong that could, work in a farm field had value. And then the machines came along and it's like, no matter how strong and how hardworking you are, you're not as hardworking as a tractor. So that's not interesting to me anymore. And I think you see the progression of waves. So today, what you want to do is make sure that, you're not in the critical path of what the AIs can automate in the white collar world. And you don't want to be in the critical path of what the robots can automate in the blue collar world. You got about 10 years before the robots arrive.
10 years. Saylor doesn't say things lightly. The man speaks in 100-year time horizons, and he just told you and Peter and 361,000 viewers and counting, you've got 10 years to stake your claim. Because here's what's coming. The currency is debasing 7% a year. On average, robots are about to demonetize white-collar work. AI just demonetized lawyers, accountants, and copywriters. Your wages, the thing you trade your one finite life for, are racing in a sack race against a Ferrari. And the Ferrari has a turbocharger called the Fed. So what do you do? Well, I'm about to give you the deepest truth about the system and what you can do about it. But before we do, we gotta recognize our sponsors powering this show. Oh, and wait a minute. Say it ain't so. Look at our likes.
3 or 4 times, maybe.
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
You can secure your generational wealth the right way. You're gonna want to see our friends over at the Bitcoin Way. Not your keys, not your Bitcoin. If your Bitcoin is on an exchange, it's in MSTR, STRC, it's in IBIT, whatever. That's not your Bitcoin. That's Coinbase's or Larry Fink's. The Bitcoin can be seized, frozen, restricted, you name it, all at the drop of a hat. Bitcoin held in self-custody cannot be frozen, seized, or restricted. The Bitcoin Way sets you up with ironclad self-custody, proper hardware, your own node, full on-chain verification, so your Bitcoin is actually yours. Their team guides you through the entire setup step by step, and they can help with privacy phones, Plan B residency, and so much more. No single point of failure is standing between you and your generational wealth. Book your free 30-minute consultation right now, scanning that QR code or clicking the link in the show notes, and begin your journey towards sovereignty today. The Bitcoin Way. Bitcoin-backed loans. You keep your stack, you get cash, and you repay whenever you want. Zero penalties, zero monthly payments, and right now Ledn just dropped their lowest rates ever. No fine print, no complexity. The larger the loan, the lower the rate, and you see every number up front before you even apply. Here's why I trust them personally. Your Bitcoin is custodied at all times, never lent out for interest. You get auto top-up protection, LTV alerts, and partial repayment options, so you stay in control through any market condition. That's not marketing. That's literally $10 billion in loans across 8 years with a perfect track record. Every market cycle, not one client's funds have been lost. Don't choose between a great rate and the safety of your Bitcoin. Ledn gives you both. Scan the QR or use the link below and head over to ledn.io today. Here's the deepest truth about the system, and I'm going to give credit where it's due. This guy, Joshua Forteza, wrote this banger essay this week, and he sent it to me. We'll put that link in the description. Go ahead, check that out, read it. But he said this, it's pretty sharp. What actually drives the masses of human society either forwards in its progress where number go down or backwards in its regression where number goes up is the underlying supreme governor of all, the monetary policy. Read that twice. The dirty secret of this entire civilization is that under fiat debt money, the money you and I are forced at gunpoint to use, number must go up. Prices must rise. Why? Because if prices fell, debts would become unpayable in real terms. The whole pyramid implodes. The Cantillon class, the people closest to the printer, they'd actually have to work for a living. And we can't have that. So the system has to engineer deflationary brakes. Forteza names them. Energy choke points, regulatory thickets, welfare, credentialism, war, bread and circuses, endless distraction. You know what every single one of those is? They're not bugs. They are features. The system is what it does. The system is not anti-progress. It's anti-rapid, unmonopolized progress, because rapid progress makes things cheaper, and cheaper kills the Ponzi. Innovation that the quintillionaires can't capture is a threat to monetary policy. That's why every great innovation gets strangled. That's why nuclear is illegal. That's why the FDA exists. That's why your kid's school taught them about pronouns instead of compound interest. That's why the wars never end. That's why the universities cost $250,000 to teach you Marx. Number must go up, or the cabal eats itself. That's the entire show. That's the whole movie. So what's the move? Well, Saylor told McCormick this.
Bitcoin simply represents the highest form of capital that the human race has yet to discover.
Listen, gold worked. Gold worked for 5,000 years. Gold won against silver, copper, against glass beads. But gold lost to the modern economy in one specific way. Gold cannot teleport. You cannot move $10 billion of gold across an ocean in an hour. You can't defend it from a state that wants to seize it. You can't put it on your phone. Bitcoin can. Bitcoin is scarce, desirable property that you can move at the speed of light. Bitcoin is the first asset in human history with a fixed supply and zero physical jurisdiction. You can carry it in your head. You can move it across borders with 12 words. You can self-custody. No bank, no government, no permission slip. Here's the part that should keep Besant up at night. Stablecoins funnel global purchasing power into treasuries. Bitcoin funnels global purchasing power out of treasuries. They're economic opposites. Stablecoins are a methadone clinic for the dollar. Bitcoin is the cure. Every dollar of stablecoin demand is a dollar that is not in Bitcoin, and every dollar in Bitcoin is a dollar the Treasury can never tax, seize, and inflate away. That's why they need this bill so badly. That's why Besant is on TV every week begging Congress to pass it. They're losing, and they know it. Bretton Woods 1 fell in 1971. Bretton Woods 2, the petrodollar, is dying right now in front of all of us. Bretton Woods 3, the stablecoin Trojan horse, is being walked through the gates this week. But here's the part they're not telling you. Bretton Woods 3 is not the new system. It is the panic button reboot of the old system. Real money is not running on the Treasury's permission. Real money runs on hash power, not handshakes. Real money is digital, scarce, stateless. They have 10 years, maybe. You have 10 years, definitely. Stake your claim. Oh, and if you're serious about Bitcoin mining, there's one event you need to be at this summer. Mining Disrupt 2026, Miami, July 21st through the 23rd. This is the conference for miners, hardware makers, energy companies, and anyone building real Bitcoin infrastructure. Keynotes, panels, massive expo floor. The deals that shape this industry happen here. Use promo code SimplyBitcoin for 20% off your tickets at miningdisrupt.com, and we'll see you in Miami. Hope you all enjoyed this one. Let us know what you think down below. If you got value from the show, subscribe, give us a pamp. We're dropping news and coverage, analysis, memes 7 days a week. So set those notifications and share this with one of those normies in your life who still thinks the system is fine. Tell them they have 10 years. I'll see you next time. Love you guys. Peace.
If you prefer to go down with the ship, you.